Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't been here before, my name is Debbie and I read a lot of books. Today's book for Vlogmas is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This is the front cover of the book. This is my new favourite book. I love this so much. I read it in about one day. I started reading it in bed that morning, which was yesterday morning, and I was reading it between treatments. I read some of it on my lunch, and then when I got in from work, I sat on the sofa and read it until my mum was there going, "Do you want to watch Doc Martin?" And I was just like, "Yeah, but I just need to get to the end of this chapter. Can you just let me get to the end of this chapter? And then we'll watch Doc Martin." I just need to read this blurb, and then I'll tell you exactly why I love this book so much. Daisy Darker's family were as dark can be. When one of them died, all of them lied and pretended not to see. Daisy Darker is arriving at her grandmother's house for her 80th birthday. It's Halloween, and Seaglass, the crumbling Cornish house perched upon its own tiny private island, is at one with the granite rocks it sits on. The Darker family haven't all been in the same place for over a decade, and when the tide comes in, they'll be cut off from the rest of the world for 8 hours. When the tide goes back out, nothing will ever be the same again, because one of them is a killer. It's 400 pages, crime and thriller, adults, and was released in 2022. This book is set in 2014, and there's references to that at the very beginning where they're talking about the phones that people are using. This book had a very Agatha Christie feel to it, and actually at the end of the book there is a reference to the book that this made me think of, which is "And Then There Were None" by Agatha Christie. So as you can hear, it's the grandmother's 80th birthday, which is Halloween, the 31st of October, and the house that the grandmother lives in is in Cornwall, and it's essentially on its own private island, so they can get in during the day, but at night it gets cut off from the rest of the world. This is like a proper horror murder mystery, and I absolutely loved it. I find it so weird that I love these kind of books, but I do, and I'll admit I did kind of slightly stumble upon the ending in a way, but not all of it. And then, even when I did hit upon it, I discarded it and thought, wait, no, because of this. And I'm not going to tell you the ending, because I feel like this is one you really, really need to read to understand it. There was also a point that the very first chapter, I did not realise was, like, part of the book until a couple of chapters in. So the first chapter is from the point of view of a book agent, where it says that the book is coming from somebody who is dead. And throughout the book, you find out that the grandmother, Daisy Darker's grandmother, is a writer, and she wrote a children's book using her granddaughter's name. So it's the Daisy Darker story, but it's not actually about Daisy. The grandma just borrowed the name, didn't actually borrow the life story. Daisy Darker, the woman in this book, was born with a broken heart. Basically, she had many operations as a child. She has a massive scar down the middle of her chest, where she has had multiple heart surgeries, and she is one of 3 sisters, and you know straight away that this family is extremely dysfunctional. The mother and the father are Frank and Nancy, and they're referred to as Sinatras in the book, with the idea of like Frank Sinatra and yeah. And Frank and Nancy divorced when the girls were kids. There was a boy, Connor, who lived at a house near to Seaglass, who was basically almost like adopted by the family because his own father was a drunk and abused Connor when he was a kid. Daisy's grandmother did get involved and took Connor away and told his dad, "Look, I'm open to giving you a second chance, but you need to get help. You are never laying your hands on your son ever again, and you will get your son back once you have been to rehab and you realise what you are doing." You basically find out that Connor's mother died And when his mother died, his father went into extreme depression and took that depression out on his son and alcohol. It is a very dark story all around. Yeah, so for the grandmother's birthday, she invites the whole family. She invites the 3 girls, then the parents, the divorced parents, Nancy and Frank. It's during the evening that you also find out that Connor was invited as well. Connor turns up a little bit later, once at a time when they all think that the house has been cut off already because of the tide. But apparently he came over on a boat, as you do. Basically, throughout the book, the majority of it happens on one night. It's separated into chapters where you're told how long it is until the tide is out, and then flashbacks to the Darker family when Daisy was a kid, and you find out Daisy's story, finding about her heart problems, her relationship with her sisters, her relationship with her parents, her relationship with Connor, her relationship with Connor's father, and then in the present, as it is in the book, 2014, you also meet one of the sisters' daughters, whose father you don't find out until the end. Basically, the first person to die is the grandmother, and this happens after the grandmother has shared her will with the family and basically said, this is what everybody's getting, and nobody's getting any money. And you realise they all have a grudge against the grandmother, and so basically you're trying to figure out who in the family has the biggest grudge against the grandmother at this point to murder her for money. And then throughout the night, they're all picked off one by one. There is a blackboard in the kitchen where when the grandmother dies, there is a massive poem written on the blackboard in chalk, which is a poem of the entire family. It starts off with the grandmother, and then as you go through the board, it's basically implying that everybody in that family has a secret. And then as people are dying and picked off one by one, a line is put through that part of the poem. And the moment when they realise that the line goes through every time somebody dies, it's quite an impressive moment. They're just like, wait, that person isn't dead. And they're just like, wait, where are they? This is so up my street, this book. It is officially my favourite book, I think. Because I think before this, my favourite book was Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yanmar. I feel like this trumps that. And Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yanmar is a biography. This is complete fiction. And yeah, so I have a feeling, because I don't think I had like a proper favourite fiction book, because whenever anybody would ask me what my favourite book was, it would always come back to Chinese Cinderella. The things that I thought and felt when reading Chinese Cinderella was so powerful that I was just like, even as a biography, there is something about this book which makes it my favourite book. There was something about the way it was told, her life, how she came out the other side of it, that was just so powerful. But ultimately, I feel like this is now my favourite fiction book. It was just so good, and the way it makes you suspect everybody. And then when I got to the end and realised that I had accidentally stumbled upon who did it, but didn't quite figure out why. Because in a way, because I went, oh, what if it's this, and it's because of this, and then I went, oh, but it can't be like that because of this, and then at the end it explains everything, because I got to the end and was just like, so I was right, and the reason I kind of excluded it was answered in that end. I don't know how to talk about this book without spoiling it completely. I'll just say that because throughout the night, when people are being picked off one by one, they are getting hints. The family are getting hints about who they should be looking at. From the poem that is on the wall in the kitchen, and then when somebody dies, one of their home movies pops up with notes attached with, I think it's Scrabble letters, on top of the tapes. It's VHS tapes. If you don't know what a VHS tape is, go ask your parents. But yeah, to the cover of the VHS tapes are Scrabble letters that say, watch me, see me, hear me. And I was just there going, who wants to be seen and heard throughout this? Because I know that Daisy definitely wants to be seen and heard. Throughout the book, you're aware of her relationship with her family and how her sisters didn't really like her. Ultimately, she did have different relationships with her sisters. I think because her sisters are Lily and Rose. All three of them are named after flowers. Their mother Nancy seemed to have a better relationship with the flowers in the garden than she did her daughters. But you realise that because of her heart problems, one sister just wanted her dead, basically. Lily is horrible in the book. She is truly horrible as an adult, and her daughter Trixie, as a mother, she has no maternal instincts. I say no maternal instincts. Occasionally throughout the book you do see some of her mothering side, but at the same time you realise that Trixie is nothing like her mother. Trixie's 15-year-old, she's very into pink. A lot of people think that she's younger than she is, but Trixie is very much like her Aunt Daisy. She likes books, she's quite introverted. Daisy really identifies with her niece. Her sister Lily is kind of the golden child who can do no wrong, even though she was the one that like dropped out of school and had a kid when she was like 18, 19, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that in the context of the story you see Lily as kind of the worst child of the bunch, but it seems that Lily is actually Nancy's favourite. I think it's mainly because Lily's story mirrors Nancy's, as Nancy was a teenage mother as well, so you get the idea that Nancy sees herself in Lily, and that's why Lily seems like she can get away with murder. In the flashbacks, in the chapters where you go back to the childhood and you kind of look at what was happening on the videotapes, because obviously they watch each videotape every time there's one that pops up, because they're trying to learn, they're trying to figure out who has such a grudge against the family. They're trying to work out if it's someone who's already in the house, or if somebody else visited and never left, or if somebody has managed to make it through the storm and is able to actually get to the house in the middle of the night. They're trying to figure out who is killing them all off, basically. And it's just so good, it's just so good. And there was a point actually when I started suspecting Connor's dad, because I was just like, who isn't being seen here? Who isn't being heard? And it was just like, the only point of view we're not getting from is Connor's father. And then there came a point and it was just like, wait, we haven't actually found out what actually happened to Connor's dad. And so when you finally do get that part of the story, it's really sad. And you find out the relationship that Connor's father had with the Darkers, and the relationship between Nancy and Connor's father, and then how that friendship relationship affected relationship with the rest of the family. And yeah, it's ultimately a family saga turned into a murder mystery, because it all comes back to the secrets that each member of the family has been hiding. And when you get to the end, even though they all have their own independent secrets, they also have one joint secret, which is why what happens. Yeah, I think I need to shut up now. It was just so good. With the Agatha Christie references, I mean, straight away, as soon as I realised it was like a house on an island that nobody can get to, and like, it's almost that idea of, you know, it's coming from inside the house type situation, and then also the whole, and then there were none situation where it's just like somebody just picking everybody off while they're completely cut off from the rest of the world. Oh, it was just so good. If you like Agatha Christie murder mysteries, if you like And Then There Were None, this is the perfect book for you. If you love that family saga type situation, you're gonna love this. I don't know if this book has won any awards. Oh my god, there's another one. There's a book called Rock, Paper, Scissors. I want to reserve, but I do also need to reserve a Christmas book. I've got time, it's October, it's not even Halloween yet. Okay, I've just reserved Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Marriage Can Be Murder. Oh, I don't know what it is. I just love a murder mystery. I love putting those together. God, I'm obsessed, aren't I? Anyway. Where's it gone? Dirty Darker. Alice Feeney. That is the front cover of the book. Just murder mystery. Complete. Oh. When you find out who did it, I really did not see that coming. And I say I stumbled upon it slightly, but it wasn't the whole thing. And you realise that more than one person was involved. When I got to the end, I wanted to go back to the beginning and read it again. There is a preview, so I'm just going to read the preview just to see if I can see anything in the preview that hints at what I found out at the end. because the reason I dismissed it so quickly was just like, oh, but this happened, so that can't be true because this happened throughout the book. And then there was a little bit of an answer for it at the end, and then it was just like, wait, is everything that I thought I read a complete lie? This had that element of don't trust anything that you read. Anyway, Daisy Darker, Alice Feeney, murder mystery, got that Agatha Christie feel to it. There is actually a reference to And Then There Were None at the end of the book, and it was just like, oh, yes. New favourite book. Officially new favourite book. It was so good. Go read it if you like a murder mystery. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Love you. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you tomorrow with another day of Vlogmas. Stay safe, everybody.